Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Survival Handbook. Today we're going to be teaching you about the various whistles at your disposal and some general tips to keep better control of your dinos. If you want to learn more about how to grow your skills and all sorts of other ARK related stuff, subscribe now so you don't miss anything. Have you ever been traveling across the map with a dino following behind you? Have you ever lost that dino, never to find it again because it popped out of render distance 1,000 meters in the sky? Making sure your dinos are following closely is a really good way to avoid that, but let's get a little bit more in depth. So let's say you have two flyers, a Pteranodon and an Argentavis. You get knocked off your RG by a Microraptor and a Rex comes and kills you. Your RG was set to neutral so it kills everything in its area, but you're left all the way across the map at your base with nothing but a Pteranodon. So naturally, you jump on the Pteranodon, get your stuff back, and whistle the RG to follow you. You start flying back to your base thinking the RG is surely still behind you, but when you land, you don't see Big Squawky behind you. Panic. Now the next hour of your life is dedicated to retracing your steps and following your path as closely as possible to find where the RG might have been left. This could have all been avoided though. The RG is much slower than the Pteranodon, so riding the RG would have forced the Pteranodon to fly in circles around it, basically guaranteeing that both creatures make it back to base safely. Alternatively, stopping for a few seconds and checking behind you to make sure the RG is still close would also work. Dinos following you can be really tricky, and this is just one very simple way to stop that from happening. Have you ever had this happen? When you land your flyer, jump off, and it immediately flies away? This happens when the creature is set to follow another creature instead of set to following you directly. This is a slight difference that majorly affects how dinos behave. If you're mounted on top of a creature and whistle another dino to follow you, it won't follow you, it will follow the dino you're mounted on. Sometimes this is what you want, depending on the situation, but for me, more often than not, I'd prefer the dino to follow me directly. If you end up having a dino following a dino, but using whistle stop all doesn't work, either jump on the dino and use whistle stop all again, or look at the dino and use whistle stop one. Okay, so now it's time to get into each command and what they do specifically. Some are straightforward, some are not. Firstly, to access these whistle commands, either hold B on console or hold T on PC. This will present you with a radial wheel full of different commands at your disposal. At the top, you have whistle follow all, which can make all of the dinos around you follow you. Dinos are within your whistle radius when you can see the green text above their character model. And if you don't see their name tag, your whistle command will not register. Next, we have whistle follow one, which is also pretty straightforward. Whatever tamed creature is within your crosshair will begin following you. Then you have whistle stop all, which stops all dinos in your whistle radius from moving, as well as stops them from continuing to follow you. The only time this doesn't work is if your dino is following another dino and not you directly. In that case, you have to use whistle stop one, which is the next command in the radial wheel, and quite obviously stops only one dino from following. This overrides every follow command and will make the target stop following anything, whether it's you, another survivor, or another dino. Next, we start getting into the different quote-unquote stances dinos can have, or essentially you can quickly set the behavior you'd like them to follow via whistle commands. These stances will affect all dinos within your whistle radius, so be careful if you have a dino you simply can't live without. Attack my target allows you to tell your dinos to attack only when your character is attacking or when it's being attacked. Neutral allows the dino to defend themselves autonomously if they're being attacked while you're away. Essentially, if anything attacks a neutral dino, your dino will fight back. If multiple dinos are set to neutral, they will attack the same target if one of them is attacked. I recommend you use caution with this one if you're on a PvP server. Survivors can shoot a neutral dino from a distance and lead it off a cliff or simply lead it away from your base, making raiding you much easier. Next, we have whistle passive, which is easily the behavior type I use the most with my dinos. This forces my dinos to never attack, even if they're attacked or if I'm attacked. This ensures my dinos stay where I've told them to stay so I never lose any dinos. And it keeps things really organized. I don't have to remember which dino I set to neutral or which I set to passive. If push comes to shove, I simply use one whistle command and my entire dino army begins to rush my attacker. Once the fight is done, of course, I set them all back to passive and I have peace of mind. Next up, we have attack this target. That command tells your dinos to attack the creature or player that's currently within your crosshairs. The last whistle command on the radial wheel is whistle land flyer. This one is pretty straightforward. If you have a flyer that won't land on its own, simply use that whistle command while it's in your crosshair and it'll land. This can take a second, so don't worry, it'll land eventually. You can also use comma on PC if you want all of your dinos to move to a specific location. The last set of whistle commands I have for you today is called Tame Groups. Basically, you can set certain dinos to follow commands if they're assigned to a certain group. So if you have a Rex and an RG and you want only those dinos to attack a target, you can set them both to group 1 and whistle that group specifically to attack a target. This is primarily used for boss fights, but has many uses. There are a few ways to manage these tame groups. You can open up your inventory and find this button at the very top of the screen to rearrange or remove dinos from groups. To add them to groups, simply walk up to them and hold E, then set them to the tame group that you want. Lastly, you can actually use these tame groups by pressing the number of the group on the numpad, like using 1 to call group 1, or if you're on console, you can hold select to activate the group you wish to command. Guys, if you liked the animations in the beginning, make sure you check out my sister's YouTube channel and her Twitch. She's a professional graphic designer that's done a ton of work for this channel, drawings for this video included, and is worthy of the same love and support all of you wonderful people have given to me. Links are at the top of the description, so make sure to show her some love. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll see you in the next video.